book the airlines for me, right? So I can build an agent which can do it for me. Automatically, it'll make the choice and it'll go ahead and book the ticket, book the airline ticket for me and the hotel booking. So that's my AI agent. I have created one agent to do the job. What is an agentic AI? So agentic AI is a system of different agents which will achieve certain goals. So my goal is to visit New York City during the second week of October, and I want to spend 3 days in Dubai. I want to stay near Burj Khalifa, and my budget is between $1,500 to $2,000. And in New York City, I want to stay in Manhattan, and I want tourist attractions. So I have multiple requirements, and the goal is to have a good travel experience. So now a system of agents can work for me to do that for me, right? So that is an agentic AI. So I just wanted to lay out so that it's clear as to what's the difference between core AI, Gen AI, AI agent, and agentic AI. Now, if you see how the AI space has evolved, now getting a bit of throwing a little bit of technical elements here. If you look at large language models, how do the large language models work? So large language models are good at generating fluent responses using pre-trained knowledge, but lacks real-time context or tools. So you can ask any question to ChatGPT, they would answer. But if there's a cutoff period, they will not be able to answer based on any recent development that was not available to the model when it was trained, right? So the technology behind it is complicated, but now it works, and it's kind of revolutionary. It's based on the transformer technology. There's a paper out there you guys can read if there's an interest. But it now works on the context recognition, right? So it still predicts the next word. However, it does that in a very contextual manner. It's a lot of utilities of LLM already. If you want to make the LLM recent as well as contextual to your needs. So, for example, if you are if there is a hospital, right? They have the patient data which is private to the hospital. It's not available in the internet. And now the hospital wants to make a system, a question answer system, which will help the hospital personnel to extract healthcare records of the patients in a very contextual manner. Then they can utilize any of the language models and create a process called RAG, which would supply the information which the LLM doesn't have, and then make it a system which is contextual for the need of the hospital, right? So it will train based on local data, but utilize the knowledge of the LLM as well. The third one is agentic AI, which we just talked about. Agentic AI is built with a system of different elements, and we will cover the architecture in the next slide. But an agent goes beyond answers. It uses tools, memory, and reasoning to take actions, automate tasks, and learn over time. An agent has goal-directed behavior, so they are working together to achieve a common goal, like a team, a group of human beings would do to achieve a common goal. They have an interactive capacity, so they can interact with each other and optimize each other's action, not only achieve their goal, but others to achieve the common goal as well. And to an extent, they can make decisions autonomously because they can think, reason before acting. This is how a high-level agentic AI architecture would look like. If you look from left to right, from 1 through 5, so there is a framework. So there's an agentic framework. It's like a glue code, which acts like an orchestrator, right? So it's kind of a glue between different components of the system that we're trying to build. I mean, think about in a team somebody who is responsible for ensuring everybody has the same communication, everybody has the context, and then efficient communication exchange. Right? That's what the agentic AI framework will enable. It acts like a glue. There are many agentic AI frameworks out there. The popular ones are LangChain, Agno, QAI, Microsoft's Autogen, etc. And there are many more, and lot of others are coming up as well. Number two is the large language model. So the generative power, right? It still remains, the LLM still is the brain of the system, which interprets the question that is asked or the task that is requested from the system and then thinks, right, because it has now the power to ensure that they are thinking in the right direction so that they can optimize the action. So LLM acts like the brain. It does the orchestration. The LLM interprets user question and uses MCP. So we'll cover MCP next as towards the model context protocol, but it utilizes MCP to trigger specialized agents for answering and actions and ensuring that different tools are called in an optimal manner. It requires prompt engineering, right? So you need to, when working with agentic system, you need to be very optimal about how you're engineering your prompt. Are your instructions to the system very specific and meaningful? And there are different techniques. So, for example, few short learning is a technique as to how you actually make the system aware with the ground reality by giving them some question answer examples so that they can learn and be in proximity to your context, right? And then you can do RAG, fine tuning as another methodology that you can also utilize. But number two, LLM remains the core of the agentic AI system. Number three is the model context protocol. It's a gift by Anthropic, very very popular. It kind of is used as the gateway to make the API interactions easier, right? So through MCP now, instead of creating different APIs for handshaking for the tool calling, now MCP can be utilized as a centralized way of calling different tools, right? So if you see here, here we have outlining a few tools like Power BI as an MIS BI tool, Python as a programming tool, DuckDB, Jira as a project management, Confluence, Outlook as a communication, Microsoft Teams. So these are if you are building an analytics solution and an agentic system to an agent which can analyze and build predictive models. So the LLM will decide which tool to call. So for a predictive algorithm, implement this little call certain Python libraries, right? For report generation, it will call Power BI, and that is facilitated by the model context protocol, the MCP. Number four, data definitely remains at the core of your agentic system, and the infusion of data has to happen. So there has to be all the connectors established so that you are bringing in the data either in a batch processing manner or a real-time manner, and it should be able to connect all kind of data sources in the enterprise. There is a memory layer, number five, which kind of stores the in-session and across-session memory, single user versus multiple user, so that the context retains, right? So it should learn along the way through the context that it is retaining by the interactions. So there are popular tools like Zepleta, Mem0, and there are others. And then the number six is your front end layer, which gives you the user interface in a graphical way. And the tools are like Streamlit, and then there are other React and other tools which are there. Okay. Very quickly, there are different AI application development approaches. The no-code, low-code, and pro-code. The no-code popular ones, and some of that we will cover today, like Copilot Studio is getting very popular provided by the hyperscaler, Azure's hyperscaler ecosystem by Microsoft. Then there are Lovable, Squirrel, Glide, and Autogen, other no-code popular no-code ones. Low-code N10 is absolutely very very popular and getting massive penetration in enterprises globally. It's rapidly evolving and getting adoption. We'll cover N10 today. There are Zapier, Flowise, and others, and there are pro-code which are especially for developers like UAI, LangChain, LangGraph, and others. So today, and here is where I will stop and hand it over to Satyavita, where we will cover two use cases, right? Sentiment analysis and agentic RAGs. In sentiment analysis, we'll cover in the tool called N10, where the essence of it will show is once a customer feedback data is received in an enterprise context, and the objective is to understand the customer sentiment in a very automated.
Satyama, I think.
Customers research.
Yeah, Satyama, I think we lost you for a few seconds in between.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I will stop here, Satyavita. I'll hand it over to you.
Sure.
Over to you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me share my screen, and if any of you can confirm if my screen is visible. Okay. All right. So what we are going to do today is build a couple of agents. One using N10, the other using Copilot Studio. N10 has a free trial period of 14 days. If any of you are interested, if not already using it, you can experiment with this tool. Very useful, very user friendly interface, and has a lot of connectors. So if you are not already experimenting with it, I would suggest that you at least take the trial for 14 days, and you can build your own agents, right? And we'll show you how you can build your first agent using N10. Right. So what we are going to do today is let's build a sentiment analysis agent from scratch. Right. So once you are inside the N10, you can create your projects, and within project, you can create your workflows. Right. So what I'll do is I'll create a new workflow. And the first step here is to add a trigger, right? And how do you add a trigger? It can be a manual trigger, it can be an automated trigger, right? So in this case, we'll use an automated trigger that as soon as a form is filled, right? Because we are talking about customer sentiment analysis. So the customer may be providing feedback in terms of some forms or through a portal, web portal. So imagine this form as part of a web portal. And as soon as a customer feedback is received through this form, the workflow gets triggered, right? So it's an automated trigger using forms. Now, how do you generate a form? So I search for forms, right? And I get this N10 form. So I can create a form. So I'll go ahead and create a new form. I can call it, feedback, sentiment analysis, I can call it feedback form. Right? Then I can go ahead and describe it, form to capture customer feedback. Right? You can go ahead and give any kind of description that you like. Now here I have to add the form elements. So the first field I need is the customer name. Right. So I have added a customer name, and I have kept it as a text field. The next one I want to add is, let's say I want to capture their email ID, right? So email ID. Again, it can be a text field. Then I want to capture, most importantly, their feedback. So I create a field for customer feedback. And I make it since the feedback can be slightly longer, so I make it a text area type. Right? Now my form is ready. Right? So I can go ahead and execute the form. So the form opens up. I can provide my name. I can provide my email ID, right? And I can provide a feedback like I have, or I can say I really like the product features, right? And I go ahead and submit this form. Right? So this node has been generated. So you can see there is an output populated here. It has captured the details from the form. Right? Then what I can do as a next step is I can add the LLM layer in between. Right? So I want a basic LLM chain where I need to provide certain details, set it up basically. So here the user message or the prompt is the customer feedback field, which I want to dynamically capture as soon as a form is filled. Right? So I go ahead and select that and link this to the customer feedback. Then I need a prompt for the system or the LLM to work. So I need to instruct the LLM about the task that it needs to perform, right? So I have a pre-written, instruction, system instruction, so which I'm copy pasting here, right? And then I can execute this step. Sorry, there was a mistake in between. I need to add an LLM model. So let me go back and redo this because I need to create the form again. Okay. So I'll start again quickly, create this form. And I create the elements again. Okay, so I go ahead and add the LLM layer, the basic LLM chain. And again, I link the customer feedback to the prompt here. And I add the system prompt. Okay. Now, before executing this step, the mistake that I did earlier, I need to add the LLM, the model that I want to use. Okay. So I'm using the OpenAI chat model here. And I have already, added the credentials. So if you are doing it for the first time, you need to create new credentials. So you need to subscribe to the OpenAI, have an API key provided, and you can link it. So the linkage is very easy. You can create credential, provide the API key, and it will link to your OpenAI subscription. So now I have added this model, and I have a choice of models I can use from the GPT family. So I'm using 4.1 mini. Now I have added this LLM, which should perform the task of the instructions I have given. Like you are an expert in sentiment analysis, you conduct evaluations and determine if the feedback submitted is positive, negative, neutral. Respond only with one word because I only want to capture the sentiment in terms of positive, negative, neutral. So it will take that instruction and it will, if I execute this step, it will classify the sentiment from the text, from the feedback provided as positive. Right? Now, as a next step, I want to combine the output from the LLM to the input provided by the customer in the form. Right? So I need a step in between to merge the inputs from two places. And here I'm saying just combine the inputs from two places. Second. One second. Okay, I think this is fine. So I need to wait. I need to first link this with the user input, and I need to link it with the LLM output, and then I can second, I can combine the two inputs. Okay. Now, and then I can go ahead and execute this step. So what it has done is taken the input from the form submitted by the customer, and it has taken the output of the LLM in terms of the classification of the sentiment. As a next step, then I can go ahead and I want to save this in a, let's say, in a database, right? So every time there is a feedback, I want to classify them and save them in a database. So here, instead of a database, we can do that in a, let's say, a Google Sheet. So I can say append row in sheet, and I need to, design the sheet beforehand. So which I have already done. So I have 3 columns here: the customer name, feedback, and the sentiment. And as you see, this is all blank right now. But the idea is that, with every feedback, it should capture that and it should populate, append new rows to this sheet. Right? So here I have to, again, if not already connected, I have to connect with the Google Sheet account using this create new credential. And then I can, just search for the document from my Google Drive. So this document or the file is already saved in my Google Drive. And I'm selecting that file and the sheet which needs to be updated. Right? And then that sheet has 3 columns, right? Customer name, feedback, sentiment. So I need to map these fields from the, the merge step that we did to capture the customer input and the LLM output. So we are, just mapping these fields here. And I'm ready to execute this step. Right. So you can see the output here, which should also get reflected here, right? So you see this getting updated with the customer name, feedback, and the sentiment, right? So that is how we can, dynamically, in an automated manner, classify every customer feedback that we are receiving into a positive, negative, neutral sentiment and store that in a database for future analysis. So that is where, we will stop with the sentiment analysis. Right? And once I have developed this, I can save this agent, right? And I can use it later on. I can also publish it and put it into production if I want to, and host it in either within the N8N cloud itself or any other cloud environment. Right? Now let me move to the agentic RAG. So if there are any questions, we'll take it at the end of the, after I'm done with the demonstration. So let me quickly move to the Copilot Studio, another low-code tool, but it requires subscription to the Copilot Studio. So if you have subscription, then you can, build agents, you can build flows, which we will cover in a later session. Flows are for more complex workflow creations. But for today, we will build a simple agentic RAG agent using the agent functionality. Right? So what we have to do here is, again, I can start with a new agent. And I have two options. Either I can pass on some instructions that I want to build a agentic RAG where I will be providing a knowledge base, and your role is to understand user queries, refer back to the knowledge base, extract the relevant information, and respond back to the customer. Right? So if I do that, it will create a system prompt based on the instructions I've given, which I can use or modify, but I will rather go ahead and create it myself. So it takes a bit of time to get the agent set up. It will take about a minute. And once it is set up, we will be able to edit these fields. So the important fields here are, we can name the agent, whatever name we want to assign. We can describe the agent. We can then add the knowledge base that we want to use for our RAG functionality to work. In this case, I don't want to enable web search because my idea is that the agent should only refer to the proprietary knowledge base that I'm providing and should only answer questions from that knowledge base. Right? Then we can also add certain tools like, if I want to respond back to the customer, so I can add a send email tool. I can also add a trigger. So as soon as I receive an email, so that triggers the workflow, right? So which I'll demonstrate now because now this agent is provisioned. So let me go ahead and, give it a name. Agentic RAG banking query. Let's say if that is the name I'm using, because I'll be using a knowledge base from related to banking products, policies, etc., product features. And again, I can describe, this is for our own reference. This description has nothing to do with how the agent will understand its role. So we can give it any name. And I need to save that. Okay. Now I go ahead and add the knowledge base. So I've already, and I can use, there are multiple ways of adding knowledge bases, as you can see here down below, but I'll add one from my local system. I have a file for banking policies FAQs. I am uploading that file, adding to the agent. Okay, so again, it takes some time to upload, but in the meantime, I can go ahead and add other things to the agent. So let me add a trigger. So I want this to be triggered as soon as there is an email received in a defined email mailbox, right? So when an email arrives, right? So this is my trigger. And as you can see, since I already have these configured, so it's telling me that I'm good to go. If this is not configured, then we can do a new connection and add my Microsoft 365 account with this so that I'm able to fetch emails from the Outlook. Okay. And then it also provides certain options like I can choose a folder within my Outlook. So here, let's say I want to choose inbox as soon as there is an email in inbox. And I can also choose many other things like, like from. So if there is a particular email ID I want to specify, etc. But I'll keep all those as default. And I'll only add, let's say, since I'm building a banking policy RAG kind of a thing. So let's say I want to call it, banking query. So if this kind of a subject is present and there is an email that I'm receiving, so I can add that and I can create the trigger. Okay, so this is done. Next is I need to add a tool, and here I want to use the send email functionality because I want to respond back to the customer. Okay, so I have added the tools and I'll keep these things dynamic, like how to address the, so it will automatically pick up from the sender's email ID, the name, etc. So I'll keep all these default and I can now go back to the agent. I need to provide an instruction to the agent about its role. So I go ahead and edit this field. Again, I have prepared an instruction which I'll be using. So I'm saying you are a banking customer service agent managing customer queries. Customers will send an email to inquire about the banking policies. You should use the knowledge base to generate a response. After generating the response, you should send the reply to the customer via the tool. And here I'm going to use dynamically from the list of tools. So here I've added one tool. There are other pre-built, like greetings, etc. But I don't want to use them. I just want to use the tool I've added, which is send an email, to send back the response to the customer. The email should include a friendly greeting to the customer. So I'm basically providing some more instruction, also giving them the details about the contact center number if they wish to call. And then I'm saying, do not cite and do not include any citation. If you don't include this, it will basically provide in the email, it will include the citation from the document that the knowledge base that we have provided. We don't need to do that. And then again, I need to use this send an email tool, right? And then I save. Okay, so now my agent is ready, and I can go ahead and publish. Let me just check for one more time if I've added everything. Right. So I can go ahead and publish. So once I publish, then it becomes an automated workflow, right? So, as soon as I receive an email in my mailbox, I will get this workflow will get triggered, right? So 1 second. Okay, let me check if this has been published. Okay, so I can go back and check here in my agent list. So this is the agent I built. Now I should be able to test it. So what I'll do is, this is the mailbox I'm using for, receiving the emails, and I can send an email from any email ID. Let's say I use this, and from this document which we are using, let me open that. So I can ask any question from this document if the customer has any related questions. So let's say the customer is interested in knowing what is the minimum balance required to maintain a savings account. then that can be the question the customer is asking. So the customer has sent that email, and as I receive that email in the mailbox that I've provided, it should trigger the activity, right? So I can go to activity, and this email, I still haven't received this email. So as soon as I do that, so yeah, I think I've received this email now. Now I can go back here and I can check if this is picking that email. Okay. Probably it did not get, no, it says it was published, right? Yeah, so it takes some time. Now it has already performed the task, but we can check, and you can see it was the automated flow. So it had received an email, then it had searched for the sources. It has looked at the question or the customer query, and it has referred to the document. So it also provides this citation. In this tool, it will not provide the citation to the customer, but here we can see that from where the document was or the text, right? And then it picks. So let's look at this document. Has it picked the information correctly? So for urban branches, the minimum balance required is 10,000. For rural branches, 5,000. If the minimum balance is not maintained, a monthly penalty of 150 will be charged. Right. So it has picked that information correctly from this document, right? And that is what we wanted the agent to do. And then it should send the email back to the customer, right? So then it has drafted an email with that information, and let's go there and check. Yep, I have received that information in that email, right? As a customer, I have received that information. So that is how, since now this is published, so this has an automated trigger, right? So as soon as an inquiry is received, it will perform the task over and over again. So every time there is a query. Right? So this is how we build a simple agentic RAG. And this is agentic because we are providing certain tools. So it's not only RAG. So the RAG element here is the knowledge base we have provided. And this is agentic because we are adding certain tools, right, or triggers, which will complete an action end to end. Right? So that's why it's an example of the agentic RAG. So I'll take a pause here and we'll see if there are any questions. Any questions from anybody?
If there is a question, you can raise hand, right, or type it in the chat or the Q&A window, and we'll pick it from there. Or if you want to speak up, you can put that in the chat window as well.
Yeah, Tarang, thanks for your comments. So yeah, I'm glad that you liked it. Okay, there seems to be one more question. Yeah, Copilot agent isn't free. That's right. As I said, that it has a separate subscription, and it also actually requires an enterprise subscription. So there is a enterprise Copilot license, and then there are user specific licenses. It also requires Power Automate, right? So this is not, I would say, meant for individual users. It is more for enterprise environments where your enterprise would have subscribed to this, and the employees can use that. So for individual use, N8N is a good tool. That's why we started with that. It has a trial period, but if you like it, you can go for a subscription, monthly subscription, which costs around $25 or so. But that is user to user. You can have your own N8N environment. So the next question is, how are N8N and Copilot agents different than Zapier?